Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm just having a chuckle because I am always in. I am always behind this green screen working and doing shows, which I absolutely love. As we start off this show, which is the Listening Mentor, I just want to invite everyone to become part of our elevated listening community. You can find out more and join by going over to my website, which is drjacalyn.com/join. Okay, what is this program all about? This program is about Caroline HEWARD is here every Friday. She is an elevated listener, one of our team members here on USA Global TV. And each Friday, we go back and forth with discussions that pertain to listening skills, listening to our intuition, and how to listen to people at an effective level to create inner peace and to bring us one step closer to world peace. So Caroline is the Harley Street stress expert, and she will help you bust your stress. So let's bring her on and talk about our discussion for today. Hi there.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Always to see you.
And we were just talking backstage. You've had a challenging week, and I don't know what you want to share with our audience, but I'm going to spotlight you, and I bring that up because of anxiety. People are struggling with anxiety. Things are happening that in many ways are out of our control. We may or may not have any influence over it, but we have influence over the choices that we make about how we respond to things. So Caroline, tell us about your work as the Harley Street stress expert and how you help people.
How I work is I help people manage their stress. So if anything happens, it's always about the way that we respond, and always about how, because anything can happen in our external world, and it's what we do about it, how we react and how we respond. Sometimes we react in a very aloof way, and it affects us physically, emotionally, and mentally. So stress, anxiety, depression, or it could be physical ache and pain, like neck pain, back pain, skin problems. It could be sleep problems, or it could be relationship issues, bereavement issues. So however you respond. Now, you asked me to talk about what happened this last weekend. My handbag was stolen. I was in a shoe shop, and I was trying on some boots, and I put my handbag with all my personal possessions. It was a full handbag, so I had all sorts of things in there, and it was taken when my back was turned trying on some boots. And I put my handbag in my shopping bag with my coat over the top, and I had my back turned, and two ladies were seen on CCTV, one on lookout and one literally swooped down and took the bag from under my coat. It was a shock to my system, and I literally screamed and said, I need to make some phone calls. I need to call the police, I need to call my bank, and I need to cancel my phones. And for an hour and a half, everybody was looking gormless at me. It was the most extraordinary experience. But as soon as I made those calls, those 3 calls, my anxiety levels went down. And it was because I was in the middle of a shopping mall, and I was worried that they were going to go shopping and spending on my cards and on my phones. And that was the anxiety. I didn't know. It was like a future thing. I didn't know what they were going to do. And as soon as I made those 3 calls, it all went down because they didn't touch anything. And essentially, I burst into tears. So I expressed the emotion. And that's really important when you're in those situations. Whatever situation you can't control because somebody's taken something, it's about how can you stop them using something, using your cards, using your phones quickly. And I did it as fast as I could, and nothing was used. And then it was the case of replacing everything. But I have been a little emotional this week because it's my favorite lipstick, my favorite vintage compact mirror, my brush, just lots of girl things, you know, the stuff that we put in our handbags. And I didn't realize how much of a violation it was. So it is how we handle things. And how I help you is I will help you identify the root cause so that you handle the emotion and feeling of that experience that you didn't handle at the time. And I've just described how I handled my emotions and feelings at the time so that I integrated the trauma so that I'm not going to be affected by it later. And I offer a free consultation over Zoom. So email me and we can set up a time that works for you and for me. And I can offer you a free consultation to literally liberate you from your stress so that you feel amazing and have an incredible deep sleep.
Thank you, Carolyn. And thank you for sharing your story, because I know that's hard. It actually happened to me as well, as I shared backstage. And it is such a violation, because in addition to someone touching your things, like actually moving your coat and going into the bag, and, you know, that was intentional. To know that somebody would intentionally do that. And it's also, to your point about the lipstick and the brush and the vintage compact, I don't even know specifically what's in my wallet. I know I have pictures from when my dad was alive. You know, they're not replaceable. And you have to really sit back and think, like, what all do I even have in there? Because sometimes we just throw stuff in, take stuff out, throw stuff in. And those things can't be replaced. Maybe it was given to you by a special person. Maybe you were at a special place when you got it, a certain memory. And it's just a violation. So I'm really sorry.
And thank you. And I didn't appreciate how much of a violation it was until I got out of the practical, and then literally was exhausted on Thursday and literally took time to sleep because I'm doing some training, some trauma training with an amazing trainer, an ex-Tibetan monk. And I talked about this last night and I said, I just felt so exhausted on Thursday. He said, you've integrated it beautifully. I did all the breathing techniques. I did all the releasing of emotions. Like I was really in it, and you know, and then I cried, and then I screamed. So I did everything that I should have done. And I felt actually when I had that feedback from the trainers, I felt so cool about it that I actually expressed and did everything because I'd got that training underneath my belt, that I knew how to handle what effectively was a personal violation and a trauma. And they said, you know, you did it beautifully. And I was like pussyfooting around it saying, well, you know, it's only I have a handbag stolen. And I wasn't knifed. Nobody like confronted me. Nobody punched me. You know, I didn't see them. And they said that this is still a trauma, you know, so it's good that I've experienced it, because now I understand that it is so personal. And this is how, if I didn't handle it at the time, this is how high levels of anxiety can unravel when I'm out if I didn't handle it at the time.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you were able to express yourself and, you know, get those emotions out, because to your point earlier, that when we don't take what's happened to us and address it, it can turn out to be physical pain. It can end up being dis-ease. It can end up being turning to addiction to certain things, you know, doing things that are not healthy because you're in pain and you're replacing that pain, pushing it down. You're putting something else in to try to make you feel better. So you got it all out, which is great.
Oh, you should have heard me scream. The poor store. I think that, you know, but I just expressed, and I've learnt to express over the years that I've been doing my work, because whatever is not expressed and whatever you suppress gets expressed into your external environment, which is the physical, emotional, mental ache and pain. So I have learnt to do that. And I was told by several people, calm down, calm down. I said, I can't calm down. I just need to make 3 calls, you know, for heaven's sake. But it was the fact that I was so pushy with saying I needed to make these calls that I actually found. I went into a store that gave me a mobile and let me make those 3 calls, and everything just dissipated. it was like the anxiety was, what would they be doing with my stuff? And when I found out that nothing had been done, everything just dropped. I just felt, right, phew, and I think that's what anxiety is, wondering what's going to happen in future. And I'm not absolved from not experiencing anxiety, just because I do the work I do. It just means that I step into actions and then express, the emotion of the anxiety, which was relief. I literally cried in front of the manager who let me use phone. And he gave me a hug. I mean, it was so beautiful, really, that I was literally being authentically genuine. And that's
I love that about you. Your story reminds me of something that happened to me that I actually had forgotten about. My parents gave me this necklace. It was a J, and then it had a diamond, and it was on a gold chain. And I was walking down the street in Philadelphia called South Street. There's a lot of bars and restaurants. This is long, long ago. And a man came up and put his hand around my neck and ripped off the necklace. Oh. And I remember standing there being like in a state of shock. And I went after him. I chased him for 2 blocks, believe it or not. I was like screaming at the top, give me back my necklace. And I saw him go like this, and it went right to a sewer grate, and it was like dangling right there. And I ended up being able to get it. But that was a really stupid thing for me to do. Looking back, like, I don't know why I would have gone after the guy, but I got the necklace back. So that shows you how I reacted to that situation.
This is listening. This is about listening to your body, listening to your expressions. For you, that necklace was important. For me, it was about stopping them getting anything else. And I really listened to what I had to do. I wouldn't stop. I literally didn't stop until I got the result of somebody helping me. And that is truly about listening to yourself. Because if I'd have listened to the security staff, and if I'd have listened to the store staff, they were looking gormless at me, completely like, smiling at me, thinking that, it was just funny. And I just kind of was shocked at that, but I wouldn't stop. I had to make sure I was listened to, that I had 3 calls to make, and that everything just dissipated after those 3 calls, because I got into what had to be done, and I wouldn't take no for an answer. This is like a child. A child will say, I want chocolate, and they won't shut up until you give them chocolate. And I was like, I want to make those 3 calls. What's the matter with you?
You just mentioned that you wouldn't stop. And our show title today is about how is our inner critic stopping us or holding us up or preventing us. So we're going to talk a little bit about inner critic, what that means, and how our listening to it or not listening to it can change the path that we go on. But first, we're going to take a commercial break so we don't have to take it during our conversation. So stay with us here. We have a couple of clips we're going to be watching, and then we'll be right back. We're going to take a moment right now.
Take a moment.
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 So I've had the privilege of photographing some incredible people over the years, and during each shoot I've asked the subject to close their eyes and take themselves to a peaceful place just for a few seconds. I've found that this really helps to refresh the energy between the camera and the subject. They had an energy that was quite special and quite different from the rest of the shoot. The collection grew, and now it feels the right time to use it for something good. I think it'd be amazing if we could help to raise awareness and involve people in the discussion about mental health. So what we're asking to do is for everyone to upload their own self-portraits. All of these portraits will become part of a massive artwork. I'm really excited to see this project go from hundreds of pictures to thousands of pictures. Essentially, an ever-evolving artwork that says we're all in this together.
Close your eyes and take a moment.
Меня зовут Маша, мне 9 лет, я живу в Красногоровке, у меня все хорошо. Кушать у нас есть, пить у нас есть, сахар у нас есть, все есть. Только дров не хватает. На буржуйке, когда у нас есть, вот эти мы дрова пособираем, закинем, оно горит. Например, в 10 запалили, в 11 закончили, вода нагрелась, еще и мы купаемся.
В наш дом 4 было прямых попаданий, так что мы боимся человека даже осколками. Поранило, забрали в больницу с 6-го подъезда соседа, так что мы тоже боимся, у нас много деток. Деваться нам некуда, нас никто нигде не ждет.
Когда вырасти, я хочу найти работу такую, чтобы я помогала людям, которые бедные, там.
Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diane Floyd Bame's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at dianefloydbame.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. Our show today is The Listening Mentor, and I'm here every Friday with Caroline HEWARD, the Harley Street stress expert. And we are now going to talk about how our inner critic can be holding us back. So, Caroline, what is an inner critic to begin with?
You know that voice that's inside your head that kind of says, oh, you're not good enough to do this and you can't do that, and oh, you'll make a real flump of that. That's not going to work. This isn't going to work. It's that voice inside your head before you start to do something that stops you doing something that you would like to do but don't feel good enough to do. So it's that inner voice that tells you, that keeps kind of ticking you off, so you have a go with looking at doing something. So you're thinking about doing something that's going to stretch you, and then that inner critic says, what are you doing? Forget it. You're never going to pass. You're never going to succeed in this project. Just leave it. And we all have an inner critic, and the inner critic actually is saying things that even our worst enemy wouldn't be saying to us. And so we're our own worst enemy when we have this inner critic going on.
Thank you for that explanation. Now I have a real doozy of a question for you. You ready? Okay. How do we know when it's our inner critic or our intuition
the intuition won't be telling you how useless you are. The inner critic is coming from the mind, and so the mind will always be logicalizing what's bad about it, yeah, and bad about you. So it could be personally attacking you. But the intuition is like, I'll give you a good example. There's some dances that I've not felt. I've like been looking at them. They say all the right words. They have all the right videos. All the music looks good. It doesn't feel comfortable for me. There's something that's not quite right. And it's not about me. There's something that doesn't feel right for me to go. And then I find out, you know, sort of what it is, because I keep asking the question, would I be safe? You know, and so there's something inside your intuition is your inner guidance. It isn't telling you that you're wrong. It's the feeling. Where the inner critic will be just like rubbishing you. It'll be rubbishing everything. That's, you know, oh, you're no good at this and you won't do that. And, you know, who are you trying to kid? You know, it's that kind of, you know, bullying. It's a bully almost, you know, that tells you you're just not good enough, or this won't work, or that you can't do this. And so it doesn't allow you to stretch you to do the things that you would desire to do. It keeps you small.
Mm. So how is our inner critic holding us back? Can you give examples for our audience so that people can start to think about their own lives and how they're probably doing this in some way or another, or have done it in some way or another?
Well, I can take you back to when I was at school, and I had this really wild inner critic that kept saying, you know, I wasn't good enough to pass my exams. And so I thought that I would just fail all my exams at school, and I would stay on to retake all my exams again, which stopped me having to make a decision about what career I was going to do, because I just wasn't sure. And so my inner critic was a real live wire then, and it just kept saying, well, you're going to fail your exams, so you don't need to make your choices now, so you can just have another year, resit all your exams again. And this was a long time ago, and I'm talking about where you could reset your exams. And I had one teacher who was my nutrition and cookery teacher, and she said, you're not going to fail, you're going to do really well, and I want to help you take the next step to where you go afterwards. And she was looking at applications for colleges for me, because I was really good at cookery. And I chose a cake decorating course, a bakery course, because it was what I love doing. I've always done that. I've always done things I love to do, hobbies that were interesting that turned into careers. And I was really surprised that she had that much faith in me, because I didn't have faith in me. And that was one way of it. It would have stopped me doing well. I had somebody that believed in me and nurtured me and coached me, because that word even wasn't available then, coached me into saying, yes, I can do this. And I did get all the exams that I needed to get into the college. And I passed the exam. And that was because somebody else was overriding my inner critic. So that could have changed the whole of my life if I'd have listened to it and not had that support.
I love the fact that you signed up for the, he said cake decorating.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I always wanted to do that. Was that fun?
Oh, it was just, I just chose something I wanted to do. You know, I was kind of a bit of a, you know, I was a bit ballsy then, and I just said, well, if I have to do further education, which I wanted to do, and my parents didn't have the money to send me to university, so I said I want to do something that I enjoy, and I loved cake decorating. And so I found a bakery course, and I became a pastry chef and a master baker.
I love it.
And I loved all the sweet things. It was fun, and it wasn't like work. It was a hobby. It was something that I really enjoyed. But I went straight into management, because I did all my management qualifications. So I was straight into management. So I was already looking after people at 19. I was one of their youngest managers. So all the way through my career, I've always been in management. And then I worked at Holland & Barrett as a manager, and I just took West Store to Top Store. So I went from sweet things to health things. These were choices I was making because they were interesting. And then it was easy. I thought, well, I think I'd enjoy that. So I took it. I didn't ever really do a job that was going to tax me in terms of like fighting to do. So I didn't ever think, solicitor, lawyer, barrister. I didn't think anything like that, because I thought that just feels really boring. I wanted to do something I enjoyed. And so my career path, moved into marketing. Again, it was something I enjoyed. I was just really lucky. I've been a career portfolio student and career girl. I always took a career that was a hobby and interest into a career by study. And this has been the same. The work that I do now was a hobby, something to help me, and now I help lots of other people. So I've just been lucky because I've chosen wisely, and I feel that that's because I've always listened to my intuition. I've always listened to what felt right for me, rather than doing something for the sake of doing a job and earning money. And I've always done well at whatever I've done because I've chosen what I enjoy.
Thanks for sharing that, Caroline. When you have a client who comes to you and is very critical of themselves, I know I've been very critical of myself throughout my life, and I never ever think that I'm thin enough. I'm always like, you need to lose weight. My whole life, I've always been like this. So when you're working with someone who has their inner critic and they're constantly putting themselves down, how do you help them?
The inner critic is in the mind. So when we were born with no mind. And if you look at a young child, a very young child or a baby, they're not thinking and analysing or working out anything. They don't have any conversation going on. All there is a sensory experience. And so what I do is I take them into their heart and into their emotions and feelings. And when they're in their heart and then their emotions and feelings, then there is no inner critic. There is no agonizing over what about this, what about that. All there is a sensory of peace and pleasure. I know that might sound really easy, but it is. It's that easy, that the inner critic only belongs in the mind. So any meditation, any breath work, there's tons of practices, that I do that literally just wipe out the mind. And when you're not in the mind and there's no thinking and trying to work something out or analysing or sort of, going backwards and forwards in a conversation in your head, then all there is peace. And the inner critic literally disintegrates to nothing.
I love that. Goodbye, inner critic. We've got some comments from someone on our private Facebook group, so we don't have your name or names. I don't know if it's one person or more. Well done. If it's something you love, that's brilliant. It's like us. We love music, so I went to college and university and studied music. Okay, it's a musician or a singer. We're going to guess who it is. Okay, it's good to do what you love. All right, thank you for engaging with us. If you want to put your name in there so we can thank you directly, that would be beautiful.
It's cool. And musicians, that's beautiful. I'm in tune with people that compose, that sing, that write, because they really are in their emotions and feelings. Music comes from the emotion and feeling center, which is the second chakra, called the sacral chakra. And this is also where our sexual energy resides as well. This is our creativity. This is our movement and our desire and our power in terms of our movement and our desire to do things that we love doing. And any musician or singer or writer or actor, they'll all be in the emotions and feelings in the belly. And any dancers, they'll be the same. They'll be in their emotions and feelings. And so they will be living life. They will be experiencing the joys and the pleasure. Any sports person, I love working with people that have done any martial arts or football or rugby or boxing, because they all will have learnt to engage into their core, to be in their breath. So anybody that's doing any type of sports or singing, actressing, actors, they will all be in this space. So the arts, painters, writers, they'll all be there because they're coming from that place. But many of us, are doing jobs and roles that, we learned at school that we had to study really hard, and then we're working in things like accountancy, banking, the professional services, and they're not really fun. Somebody has to do them, but they're not actually, sort of expressing your creativity. So they will stifle your creativity, and they will actually force you to be very in the mind, very analytical. Anybody that's doing anything creative, I love, interacting with people that are really in those types of professions, because they will be good, at being in their emotions. And we all have an inner critic, because that's, we've got that instilled in us from school, and it's what we do with it. And when you're doing something that you love, something you enjoy, the inner critic literally just disintegrates. I remember making wedding cakes, and I would be there after a whole day's work, and I'd have like 2 or 3 cakes on the go, and I'd have my big lamp, sort of to dry the icing, and I'd be, creating like elaborate icing fixtures to put on top, just created out of icing baskets and flowers and all sorts of things. And I'd be there for like 7-8 hours, and I wouldn't even notice the time. Like my mum would say, "Come to bed." I mean, "Oh, I've just got to finish this," because time just disappears. There is no time when you're having fun and you're enjoying something. There's no time. There is only, the experience of the sensory, and so there is only pleasure. And then time.
Yes.
So they say time flies when you're having fun. There's no inner critic there. There's nobody telling you that you're not good enough or not worthy, because you're doing something you love. That's why it's really, really good to find something you enjoy. Many young people don't find what they enjoy, and they struggle, all the way through their life, because they don't find something that really motivates and moves them. The people that do, I've just spent a lifetime always finding, hobbies, turning hobbies into careers. And I think it's a skill. I've been told.
I would say so. Yeah. We've got
Always
some
in
more.
management.
It's Katie. Oh, hi, Katie. We're hoping you're going to reschedule and come on. She was going to be on the film and music show, and she's on her second single now. Congratulations. And she's also in singing competition. So you'll have to come over onto the platform and tell us all about it. Congratulations to you.
That's beautiful, isn't it? And that's, any singers, they'll be amazing at this, because there's no inner critic going on in the space that they're singing. In the lead up to it, oh, will this record be good enough? Will it sell enough? Because we have that going on. But when you're actually in what I call the zone, and all sports people will be in what I call the zone. When you get into your zone, no inner critic can sort of test you out on it, because you're there, you're in your space, you're in your zone. And that's why it's great to be doing something you love. And there's always a way to make money out of doing something you love. Some people are really technical, and they're making games. A lot of young people have become are really technical because of what they've grown up with, and they're creating games that they enjoy. So there's a way of finding the joy out of what you do. That's how you can dissipate an inner critic and go into your heart by going through the breathing. Breathe into your heart, and then the inner critic literally goes silent. And
Yes.
if you become present, and what I mean by that is, children make you very present. They force you, they demand your attention there and then. If you're not with them, they'll go, "Daddy, Mummy, you're not with me." And they will really moan, and they'll say, yes, the mummy or daddy will say, I'm here. And the child will go, "No, you're not. You're somewhere else. You're not here." And so children will force you to be present. Babies force you to be here and be now. Animals do the same. So nature, children, animals, all these types of environments will force you to be present. And when you're present, there is no space for the inner critic.
Yes, that's very true. And a lot of the things that you said, I want to touch on. The first being, I was in my corporate career, and I was in 2 different industries for the whole career. So the last industry I was in was selling meetings and events, employee recognition and sales incentives. And I loved it, but there was just something missing. And I never thought I was creative at all. I didn't think I had any creativity whatsoever. And now I look at what I'm doing, which is all in the creative space, if you know what I mean. And it's funny, I will come out from this green screen and I will, it's totally dark in here except for the lights in front of me. I have no idea what's going on outside, what my mother's doing. And I'll come out after 8 hours and she probably thinks I'm sleeping here or sitting or doing something. And I just can't believe the whole day has gone by because I just love what I'm doing. And I feel so blessed that I get to meet people from all over the world who are sharing their stories. And I've got 2 pads of paper here. Take notes, write down things that people say. So I don't know, I could not be happier.
And that's beautiful that you found your joy. When we all find our joy, and it might just be that we find our joy in our social, and my joy, my social is my dancing, my meditation, my gong baths. So I'm not needing a substance like recreational substances or alcohol to actually be in a space of joy, in a space of feeling good, and like sort of checking my watch every few minutes, not that I wear one, at the clock on my phone, because I'm in a space of joy and in a space of inner bliss. I'm always surprised, when a meditation event or a dance event that I've gone to, and they're saying, right, then it's time to end. I'm thinking, really?
I think I just got here, even though it's been hours.
And that's when you're in your inner joy. The people that are checking their phones or their watches, it's because they're not in their inner joy. I have to be careful. Sometimes I do have to ask people to check the time because I might miss my last tube if I'm out, which I've done frequently. And so this is what children do. There is no time for children. Children are just like in their inner joy all of the time. If you ever are not sure how to be, how God made us, is to check out our children, because they really are in their inner joy. They don't want to go to bed because they're having too much fun, and there is no time for them. Every time is chocolate time. It doesn't matter what time it is, because if they smell chocolate, they want it, and they don't. It doesn't matter to them. There's no inner critic in a very young child saying, "Oh, it's 4 o'clock. Mummy and Daddy won't be very happy. It's Easter day, but Mummy." There's none of that going on. They smell it, they want it. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we were all like that? If we were all like sort of sensory beings. So that's how we were made, and the stress and the anxiety of our external world, the news, the media, attacks that safetyness of us feeling sensory, and we become then very, very internal and bound by our survival needs. Children, very young children, they just run around playing tick, and laughing and giggling because they're not affected in that way by the external world. They're not watching the news in the way that the adult might be watching or checking the radio or the press, unless the adult is saying that to them. And so if we're unsure how it feels to not be in the inner critic, look at our very young children. They're nowhere in their inner critic. There is nothing that they can't do. And that's what's good to cultivate in a young child, that they can do anything that they want to do. And so it's about encouraging our young children, because if they decide to be an Olympic athlete, everything is possible and anything is possible. It's our mind that creates the barriers of what's not possible.
Yes, I definitely agree. We've got some additional comments, and I think these are from Katie. Let's see. It can be hard, but we made it work by investing into a home recording studio. Good for you. Congratulations. It's fantastic. Hi, it's good to involve your children where you can, and they don't fear danger. Yeah.
They don't. Children do not know what danger is. They just literally, I was out for dinner at a surprise birthday party for one of my really dear friends on Wednesday. I'd not seen him for quite some time, and he was in London for a few days celebrating his birthday, and he brought his daughter with him. And she was checking chips in the water because she knew that drinking tap water wasn't good. And her beautiful daddy, he turned around and he said, "That's good. You check chips in there so they don't drink the water." He said, "That water's bad." And it was just really funny because she knew. And she's only, I'm not quite sure, I think she must be around 18 months now. And it was just beautiful to see. She was just walking around the table having fun and looking at everybody and laughing and touching things. And there was no fear at all. Nothing whatsoever. And we're all born like that. And that is what's amazing, that we all have that about us. And so we can get back to that space. And with her mummy and daddy, the way that they are, I know this little girl is going to be an amazing person. She just has the hallmarks of being able to do anything that she chooses because her mummy and daddy are right by her side.
Ah, that's beautiful. Great show today, Caroline. Thank you so much. I can't believe once again it's flown by because we love what we're doing. I'm going to spotlight you, and if you can give your contact information, it is here, but for people listening on the radio and people who just joined us.
You can reach me on No More Stress. That's 3 words, No More Stress, at live.co.uk. And there, drop me an email and we can organise a booking for you to obliterate your stress in a free Zoom consultation.
Thank you very much. And I also want to announce, let me find this overview. Caroline is going to be joining us as a guest meditator on our elevated listening community. So if you haven't joined yet, please go over to drjacalyn.com/join. And what you can expect is a link to a video every Sunday. And the video is 30 minutes long, although last week it was 45. And it includes a fitness tip. Last week we had 2, guided meditation, listening tips, and then a recap of all the education that was shared for the week during these shows, because I told you I have 3 notepads. I write down after each show the things that I learned, and I don't expect that everyone's watching every show that we have every week. So I incorporate all of it, but it's definitely worthwhile because there's a lot of good information there. And then once a month, we will be meeting on Zoom and going into breakout sessions, and you can collaborate with the other community members and form your own relationships. You can do business, whatever it is that works for you. So Caroline, thank you so much for joining us and leading us in meditations. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I can't wait. It's really exciting. I'm so happy to be able to contribute in this way. It's a way that is going to be really beneficial for everyone, and it's something I can do really, really well and easily. So thank you for allowing me that opportunity.
Thank you. And you can expect this Sunday, we'll have a guided meditation included from Caroline. So again, do go over to my website and book your membership. Again, drjacalyn.com/join. Okay, we are headed out for the next show. Caroline, thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful evening, and I'll see you on Sunday.
You too. Take care. Love you loads. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Katie, for engaging with us during the show. And thank you to each and every one of you who actually holds a safe space for people to listen, especially right now with what the world is going through. People are going through all kinds of emotions and they need someone to talk to. We all need someone to talk to. So if you can be that person that listens without judging, that listens without trying to provide a solution when it wasn't asked for, and who listens without interrupting, you will help move us forward towards inner peace and, I believe, world peace. So please think about taking your listening to the next level. Okay, I am off to the next studio. You can stay wherever you are watching us, whether it's from YouTube or LinkedIn, Facebook, whether it's from our website, USA Global TV, or Twitter. I'm going to go to the next studio, and our show coming up is Loving Longevity. And my co-host is Annie Bush, and our guest today is John Christian. He used to be a co-host here, so I'm excited that he's coming back, and hopefully he'll sing to us. So thank you again. Thanks, Caroline. Thank you, Katie. We'll be back shortly. Please stay where you are. Thanks.